Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the S2 Underground. I just wanted to offer a very quick update on the Kabul situation as of this morning, 24 August, and this is being recorded at around 1300 Eastern Standard Time. So just a few updates, really not much for today, but let's jump right into it. The first big item of note is that the Taliban is no longer allowing locals, people who hold Afghan passports, to the airport. Taliban senior leadership, the spokesman of the Taliban has issued statements saying that they're no longer allowing any local Afghans to leave. It is not clear if these rules and regulations apply to interpreters or people who work for us, or if it's just strictly normal Afghan citizens. We're not entirely sure, but it almost certainly applies to anyone who who's an Afghan local. So they're not being allowed through the Taliban checkpoints, but we'll talk a little bit more about that once we get on the actual map. But this is also indirectly affecting coalition or alternative passport holders because they're trying to get through the Taliban checkpoints and they're being either beaten or extorted or abused in some way to get through those checkpoints. So most people are trying to find ways around them, and we're working on that. And we'll talk about a little bit more about that on the map. So related to this, really guidance has come down from a few different sources, Department of State, guys on the ground, and really just anyone with common sense can now see that it would be inadvisable to use the main gate. So embassy personnel are now recommending people avoid the main gate into the airport, as the Taliban have locked that down pretty much, not really allowing anyone through. So the Abbey Gate or the North Gate would seem to be the best alternatives to get onto HKIA at this time, but we'll talk about it on the map. And on the American political front, there has been a deadline that has been issued by the Taliban for the removal of all American soldiers and coalition forces as well by August 31st. So the Taliban have issued the ultimatum of get everybody out by August 31st or face consequences, right? That's when they're going to start shooting people, I guess. The Biden regime has indicated and stated that they will abide by this deadline, even though everyone with two brain cells to rub together can clearly see that this is not going to be feasible. This is not really something that we can fix, right? It's almost like, at the risk of delving too far into the politics, the atmosphere, the atmospherics within the American presidential regime indicate that they're going to try to stick to this August 31st deadline, and basically anyone who's left in Afghanistan after August 31st is going to be a consenting adult who made the choice to stay, even though that's completely BS. We would be very, very lucky even to get the Americans out by August 31st. Even at the rate where we're currently conducting the airlift. A report came out today that an American aircraft or a coalition aircraft is landing at that airport and departing every 45 minutes, and that's just not good enough right now to get just the people outside the airport out, and that's not including any rescue missions, which have been very, very few and far between, even among the secret squirrels who are doing their best, but their hands are tied politically, and this is rapidly making the situation more and more desperate. So the U.S. is going to try to stick to the August 31 deadline. The president said that we're going to stick by it. Uh, the Taliban said that they will not respond to any request to extend it. So I guess we'll have to see. We've only got a few more days, and we've got thousands of people to get out of there. The It has become public knowledge, so I'll speak to it now, that plans to retake Bagram Air Base have really stalled. This was something that was discussed pretty much in the beginning, the option to retake Bagram. It's easily defendable. It makes a lot of sense, a lot more capacity, and we can have a lot more ease of logistics. There's just a bigger area, and it's a lot easier to get in and out of there. But those plans have been shot down by U.S. political leadership, so it looks like, as of right now, we're just going to stick with HKIA. Things may change. Things already may be in the motion that we're not privy to, but for right now, it looks like HKIA or bust, pretty much. So, not a great situation on the political front. Also, slightly good news, but it's just something I wanted to mention. Taliban forces are moving in rapid numbers up north into the Panjshir region, and they are being pulled from the HKIA area to go combat the Northern Alliance guys that are up there. It looks like the Northern Alliance is now that the Taliban war machine has gotten spun up and they've gotten a lot of fighters up there. Those dudes are not doing well. I saw that Masood said that the other day that they're looking to probably surrender within the next couple of days. So who knows? Those guys have targets on their backs no matter what. So I guess we'll follow it and see. I'll show you here on the map in just a bit what the situation is, and it really hasn't changed that much. And also, coming back to the HKI airport situation, there's been a lot of confusion about paperwork at the gates. As of now, from the story that we're getting, which is kind of like a bad version of the telephone game, only hard copy passports and or green cards are really getting through with any success. We're not seeing any very many people get through the gates onto HKIA with anything less. However, it should be noted that if you can manage to get inside the airport with whatever you've got, the evacuation personnel will work with you, and will figure out a way to get you on an aircraft. But that's if you can get through the gate, which is going to be a pretty tough challenge at this point. So let's go ahead and jump to the map, and I'll speak to all that stuff that I glossed over about the situation on the ground. All right, so here we are on the map. As you can see, the situation on the south side of HKIA, inside the airport perimeter, has changed a little bit. It looks like the Taliban have, overnight, or within the past 24 hours since the last briefing on this, have restricted traffic. So this now area, I'm marking it red again, just because it's really a Taliban stronghold at this point, and not very many people at all are actually getting through the main gate. There are heavy Taliban presence here at the main gate itself, and there are still pretty good sized crowds. However, it looks like most people have shifted east to the Abbey Gate. We were able to find several social media videos of cars actually being able to get through here pretty easily. So it just looks like normal Afghan traffic, but there's still a decent number of people here. But most people, it seems, most locals know that the Taliban's not letting them through here, so they're going to go over to the Abbey Gate, or even more inconvenient, the North Gate. Likewise, here at the actual terminal itself, there are several Taliban red units that have set up shop here. The Taliban, the Badri 313 unit, the very famous, they reenacted the whole Iwo Jima thing for their propaganda efforts. You've probably seen that photograph on being spread around on social media. These guys are right here. They are directly across from their American counterparts, and really the situation is pretty static here on this side of the airport. Now I'm pushing forward over here into this big purple blob. I'm labeling this as really just key terrain for now. We've gotten several social media posts of Afghans. The perimeter is very fluid. Okay, the situation is not under control by any means. The situation is still fluid, and the situation kind of gets out of hand for the guys on the ground who are trying to corral everybody into the right spots. And we've seen a few social media posts of Afghans who are staged over here on this side of the post, either ones who came through the East Gate or through the Abbey Gate, and the ones that they're being staged here, they're just running in just big herds of several hundred people across the runway to the staging areas here on the other side, on the north side, because they can see from this side of the airport, they can see aircraft being loaded over here. So that is a huge concern, especially with aircraft landing. It's just making everything more confusing, and it's slowing everything down. There's just so many people. The situation is getting more and more desperate by the minute, and it's people are able to detect that, and they're taking measures into their own hands to get across. As far as Taliban dispositions, we do have, let's see if I can go ahead and bring up the Taliban LPOPs. All right, so I've got that turned on, and as you can see right here on the north side, we've gotten a lot of, let me see if I could tilt this. It's going to kill the resolution, but let me tilt the map just a little bit, and maybe we can get that 3D effect. We can see that the mountains to the north side of HKIA and a few other places along that ridge line are now being used as LPOP sites. Or basically, Taliban fighters are up there on those ridge lines, observing the Americans and the coalition forces down here on the north side of the base. They can get a pretty good line of sight up in there, so that's what they're doing. It's a long way, but it's something to keep in mind is for the guys on the ground who I'm sure already know these guys are watching everything you do and they're logging everything as well. So shifting back top down again, let's shift over to the roads. So we've been trying to find different ways of getting around Taliban checkpoints. As it seems right now, Abbey Gate seems to be a pretty good way of getting around. You do have to go through a couple of Taliban pop-up checkpoints. We don't know exactly where these are. These pucks right here are probably inaccurate at this point. Abbey Gate is really congested. You can see here there's really not a whole lot of room to maneuver. North Gate is a little easier. However, there's the canal, and the canal is just full of, it's waist deep with sewage right now. So that's not great, and it's obviously making everything it's canalizing the terrain so that people can't really get across very easily. And even so, it's just a very bad situation. Northgate you can get to a little easier. It's easier to get around Taliban checkpoints. They're letting people go to the Northgate pretty much unmolested at this point, unlike the Abbey Gate and or the East Gate. Right now, Abbey Gate and Northgate are really the primary ways for getting into HKIA. So let's push over to the roads. We've been trying to find the roads or different routes that people can use. So in the actual city itself, HKIA, the perimeter is a big enough problem as is, but it's infinitely harder when you've got Taliban here out in the city. So at the risk of slowing down the recording significantly, let's go and talk actually by HKIA first. So zooming here to the north of HKIA, Russian road from right here about to here. You can see this on the KMZ. It's pretty much clear. We were able to find videos of people driving very clearly. There's really not a whole lot of traffic over the past 24 hours here. It does get a little congested here as you start to get back into the city. And of course, it's congested here with just foot traffic clogging a lot of stuff. So up next is the 1st of May road. If I can go right there, yep. 1st of May road here down to the south. This road is pretty much clear the whole way. So for those that are trying to make their way into Kabul from outside the city, if you can make it past the checkpoints that we don't know where they're at, but the checkpoints on the border of the city, this road is pretty clear. Also, Airport Road to the west, so pushing out to the west of HKIA up until about right here is pretty clear. Very easy traffic. There's really not a whole lot. There's no Taliban checkpoints that we've been able to see on the videos we've found on social media, and the traffic is not not really bad. Also, down here on what is this road? Lycee Mariam Road here in the middle of the city. So a lot of these roads, the bigger roads, the two-track roads in the city are pretty clear, as is the, let's see here, I can find it. Yeah, there it is. Taimani Road. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It meets up here with Airport Road, and this traffic circle is clear. Now, all of these roads we're listing just to help. It probably isn't helping very much, but it at least shows that there are major roads that are free of Taliban presence for at least vehicle traffic. Now, obviously, if you're kind of conspicuous or in a convoy or something like that, you're probably going to get some kind of unwanted attention. But really, most of the congestion is around HKIA itself. The main gate is starting to, like I mentioned, be relieved of its congestion via the Taliban forcing people away from the gate. So Abbey Gate is, of course, getting much busier, and North Gate is also getting much busier. So that's really as much of the situation on the ground that has changed over the past day or so, and hopefully this was helpful in pointing that out. So before we close today, just wanted to bring this slide back up. This slide says August 23rd because there really has not been any change that I feel comfortable as an analyst calling. Right now, the fighting is just too close to call. Taliban forces are still massing up in the north areas and in the Panjshir region, but it's really too close to call at this point as to which areas the Northern Alliance still control. It's really highly contested. And as always, all of this data will be on our Odysee page. We're also setting up a Google Drive, a disposable sort of burner Google Drive account for those of you who are having a hard time downloading from Odysee. Odysee is far more reliable, and it's basically censorship proof. Google Drive, much less so. Google doesn't like the humanitarian efforts that we're undertaking. Then they can easily delete us from there. But it's a lot easier to download to a mobile device like our KMZs and things like that. So we're offering two different solutions for that. And again, here is this slide for those of you who are just at all levels of the situation. If you need help or you're trying to figure out how to get help, here are some resources for you. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, we're going to continue to follow this situation because if people think that the first days of this airlift in which people were falling off of aircraft, if people think that was horrifically bad, that was just the beginning, okay? That was the beginning of the end. When we get to the end of the end, it's going to be much, much worse. So we're doing what we can to help alleviate that and get as many people inside the wire and on an aircraft as possible. So thank you to everyone who has stuck around and put up with our endless spam on the subject, and we're going to continue pushing forward with any pertinent updates, and we're going to continue to update this KMZ several times a day, 24/7, until the situation is over. There we go. Hopefully this has been helpful again. Stay tuned for more stuff, and we will see you guys next time. So always remember, fight in the shade.